Yo, what is up? I need to get some junk off my chest, man. I just need to get some junk off my chest. Okay, look. The Pittsburgh Steelers are going to the playoffs this year, okay? Because let me tell you why. People think just because we lost Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell, that's going to keep us from not making it to the playoffs or winning the Super Bowl. Let me tell y'all guys something, right? Out of the last 10 Super Bowl teams, which one of those teams has had a top 5 wide receiver or a top 5 running back? Name one. Let's see. Let's think about. I'm having a hard time. Let's go through it. Okay, so this past Super Bowl champions, the New England Patriots. They didn't have one, and they didn't have a top 5 wide receiver on their team neither. Let's see. Last year, the Philadelphia Eagles didn't have a top 5 running back, didn't have a top 5 wide receiver or a top 10 wide receiver. Let's see. The year before that, the New England Patriots, they didn't have that neither. Who was the Super Bowl champion before that? Let's see. I think we're talking about 2015 now. The Denver Broncos didn't have a top 5 running back or a top 5 wide receiver. 2014, neither did the Seattle Seahawks. Okay? So you guys get the trend. You guys don't. People think just because we lost Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown, we're not going to make it to the playoffs. And that is utterly wrong. And people couldn't be even more wrong. And we didn't even win the Super Bowl with those guys. So it doesn't mean anything. I mean, Le'Veon Bell, he's a good player. One of the best running backs in the NFL. But come on, this guy has had 3 Pro Bowlers and 2 All-Pros blocking for him on the offensive line. And probably one of the more healthier offensive lines in the NFL. And this past season, the Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line was ranked number 1 in the NFL by Pro Football Focus. And Antonio Brown, I mean, he's a good player too. But, I mean, Big Ben stayed forcing this guy the ball. Like, against the Denver Broncos, tried to force this guy the ball on the goal line. Antonio Brown went on LeBron James' show and made a joke about it, talking about how am I supposed to make plays when you throwing the ball to the defensive lineman? Okay, you little jack, but, I mean, he was throwing the ball to you because you're a little crybaby, always crying about how many catches that you don't get and this and that. So, I mean, I don't know, man. We don't need Antonio Brown. We got Juju Smith-Schuster, who was a Pro Bowler this year. We have James Conner, who was a Pro Bowler this year, who probably would have had over 1,200 rushing yards and total offensive yards if he never got injured. He missed that New Orleans game. I don't think he played against New England, and he also missed part of that Carolina game in the fourth quarter, even though that game was basically over. But we have a good offense with or without Antonio Brown. Will be successful. I actually think we're going to be a lot better on the offense side of the ball without Antonio Brown. Now that we don't have to worry about Big Ben Roethlisberger always forcing this guy the ball. And then with the Le'Veon Bell part, we have already had success without Le'Veon Bell, so we already know how productive that we're going to be. So we're going to be a pretty doggone good team, the Pittsburgh Steelers. So the fact that people still think that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to miss the playoffs is absolutely beyond me. We still have one of the better offensive lines in the NFL, probably top 5 if you ask me. But according to Pro Football Focus this past season, the Pittsburgh Steelers had the best offensive line. And normally teams that have good offensive lines normally make it to the playoffs. The New Orleans Saints, the Philadelphia Eagles, Dallas Cowboys. Who else? Kansas City Chiefs had one of the best offensive lines. New England Patriots always have a pretty solid offensive line. LA Rams had a great offensive line too. So the Pittsburgh Steelers, we're going to make it to the playoffs this year, and we're going to win the division. And also another thing is that the Baltimore Ravens lost a lot of key pieces on that defense. They got Earl Thomas, but overall they lost a lot of depth. They lost receivers. They lost John Brown. They're not bringing back Michael Crabtree. So Lamar Jackson is basically going to have some new completely wide receivers, basically. I mean, Jordan Lashley for the Baltimore Ravens is a wide receiver that I'm very, very high on. He came from the University of UCLA. He got drafted by the Baltimore Ravens last year, and I believe it was about the 4th or 5th round. But he has character issues and stuff like that. But I think he's going to have a pretty good season as well. But overall, Lamar Jackson isn't really going to have anybody to throw to besides those two tight ends that they drafted the past couple of years. But I don't think that's going to be enough to help him. So the only thing they're just going to do is run, 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 run. Looks like they're going to have the same offense from last year, and I mean that's going to be easily stopped. So the Baltimore Ravens, I look at them as a threat, but I don't see them as a threat to the Pittsburgh Steelers to win the division again. And we got the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati Bengals are the Cincinnati Bengals. They got a new head coach in Zach Taylor, but I don't necessarily think that the Bengals are going to be anything better than what they were with Marvin Lewis, even though they went 4-1 last year. The thing that happened with Marvin Lewis is not that even though he was bad at coaching last year, that wasn't the thing that killed him. The thing that killed the Cincinnati Bengals last year was injuries. They lost A.J. Green. He was battling an injury for most of the season. They lost Andy Dalton. The Cincinnati Bengals lost a lot of freaking guys. Now, Bates, Jesse Bates is his name. One of my favorite safeties from last year's NFL draft class. Was probably the best player in that Cincinnati Bengals secondary. And they got DeQuez Denard, perfectly missed some time, 2 with injuries. So overall, Cincinnati Bengals, I don't see them competing this year. I just don't think that they have the team. And the last team that we have to worry about for the Pittsburgh Steelers is the Cleveland Browns. Now, the Cleveland Browns is an interesting head case because they got Olivier Vernon, they got Odell Beckham. So, with the Olivier Vernon trade, that didn't really boost them at all. But with the Odell Beckham trade, Vegas is all on their coats, all on their butt, riding the Cleveland Browns way. The Cleveland Browns are 6 in Vegas Super Bowl odds to win the Super Bowl this year. Now, Cleveland Browns, right, might be the only threat to the Pittsburgh Steelers in this division. And even then, just because you're a paper favorite doesn't mean you're actually going to amount to that. I mean, they do have a first-year head coach. I like Baker Mayfield a lot. He's actually one of my favorite quarterbacks in the NFL, other than Lamar Jackson, because Lamar Jackson is the GOAT. I wish Pittsburgh would have drafted him. But the Cleveland Browns are an interesting case. Now, they have a pretty solid offensive line. They're going to have Kareem Hunt back week 10, so he's suspended for the first 9 games. They also had Nick Chubb in the backfield. They got Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry, without a doubt, it's the best wide receiver tandem or best wide receiving core in the NFL. No debate. Nobody's better. And that's probably the only team I can see actually giving the Pittsburgh Steelers a run for their money, because that Cleveland Browns team is freaking scary, dog. Like, woo. The Pittsburgh Steelers still have Artie Burns on the team. This dude just gives up touchdowns like it's nothing. I'm still not understanding why in God's name have we not traded him away or just agreed to part ways with him. But dude,